Kai-Wu felt the ship shake violently around him. Red warning lights flashed everywhere in the small cargo hold of his trading vessel. The computer voice kept repeating the same message over and over. Hull breach detected. Life support failing. Evacuate immediately. He had been carrying simple goods from Earth to the outer colonies. Nothing special. Just basic supplies that people needed. Coffee, books, music players, and some medicines. It was supposed to be a safe route. The shipping company had promised him it was safe. They were wrong. The attack came without warning. 3 large ships had appeared from nowhere and started firing. Ki-Wu's small trading ship had no weapons. It was built for carrying cargo, not fighting. The attackers looked like nothing he had ever seen before. Their ships were dark and covered with sharp spikes. They moved like hunters. Ki-Wu ran to the emergency pod as his ship fell apart around him. The metal walls were melting from the heat of the alien weapons. He could hear air rushing out through the holes in the hull. His ears hurt from the pressure change. The escape pod was tiny, just big enough for one person and some basic supplies. Ki-Wu threw himself inside and hit the launch button. The pod shot away from his dying ship just as it exploded in a ball of fire. Through the small window, Ki-Wu watched the alien ships pick through the wreckage. They were taking everything they could find. His cargo, his personal things, even pieces of the ship itself. They worked fast and with purpose. These were not random pirates. They were organized. After an hour, the alien ships disappeared into space. Ki-Wu was alone. The pod had enough air for maybe 2 days, water for 3 days if he was careful, food for a week, but that would not matter if he ran out of air first. The radio was working, but he was far from any human settlements. Too far for anyone to hear his calls for help. Ki-Wu tried not to panic. He was a trader, used to solving problems. But this problem seemed impossible to solve. He was floating in empty space with no way to move the pod. No one knew where he was. No one was coming to look for him. He spent the first day trying the radio every hour. He sent out emergency signals in every direction. He used all the frequencies he knew. Nothing came back except silence and the background noise of space. On T. The second day, the air started to taste stale. The recycling system was working, but it was not perfect. Soon it would not be able to keep up. Ki-Wu found himself taking smaller breaths, trying to make the air last longer. He thought about his family back on Earth, his parents who had supported, his dream of becoming a trader, his sister who always worried about him traveling to dangerous places. She had been right to worry. Ki-Wu also thought about the aliens who had attacked him. Why had they done it? His cargo was not valuable enough to justify such a big attack. 3 warships to destroy one small trader? It did not make sense. Unless they were not after his cargo. Unless they were after something else. On the 3rd day, when Ki-Wu was starting to feel dizzy from the bad air, his sensors detected something. A ship was coming toward him. It was small, much smaller than the alien warships that had attacked him. But it was not human either. The ship looked peaceful. It was round and smooth, colored in soft blues and greens. It moved slowly and carefully like it did not want to scare him. Ki-Wu watched through his pod's tiny window as the alien ship came closer. A voice came through his radio. It spoke in a language he did not understand, but the tone was gentle, not threatening. The alien was trying to communicate with him. Ki-Wu responded in English, then tried the few other languages he knew. The alien voice changed, becoming more excited. It was trying different sounds, different patterns. Both sides were working hard to understand each other. Finally, the alien ship sent out a beam of light that gently grabbed Ki-Wu's pod. Instead, of pulling him toward their ship quickly, they moved him very slowly. They were being careful not to hurt him. The alien ship had a small docking bay. Kiwu's pod fit inside perfectly. He heard the sound of air filling the space around his pod. The aliens were giving him atmosphere so he could leave the pod safely. When the docking bay was ready, Kiwu opened his pod and stepped out. 3 aliens were waiting for him. They were tall and thin, with smooth gray skin and large dark eyes. They moved gracefully, like dancers. One of them wore what looked like a uniform with symbols on it. The uniformed alien stepped forward and made a gesture that looked like a greeting. Kiwu copied the gesture, and all 3 aliens seemed pleased. They started making soft sounds to each other, pointing at Kiwu and nodding. One alien brought him water in a container that looked like it was made from crystal. The water tasted clean and good. Another alien brought food that looked strange, but smelled wonderful. Kiwu was so hungry and thirsty that he did not care what it was. The aliens led him through their ship. Everything was curved and smooth. The walls glowed with soft light. There were no sharp corners anywhere. The ship felt peaceful and safe. They brought him to a small room with a bed and gave him clothes to replace his torn uniform. The bed was more comfortable than anything Kiwu had slept on in months. After 3 days in the tiny pod, the room felt huge. Kiwu learned that the captain of the ship was named Veltar. The doctor was called Ixin. They were part of something called the Althari Confederation. Kiwu had never heard of them, but they seemed to be good people. Over the next few days, Kiwu and the aliens worked hard to communicate. They used pictures and simple words. They pointed at things and repeated names until both sides understood. It was slow work, but it was working. Kiwu learned that the Althari were explorers and peacekeepers. They traveled through space helping people who were in trouble. They had found his pod by accident while patrolling their territory. They had never seen a human before, but they recognized that he needed help. The Althari were amazed by Kiwu's stories about Earth and humanity. They had heard rumors about humans, but they thought the stories were exaggerated. A species that had gone from living in caves to traveling between stars in just a few thousand years? It seemed impossible. Kiwu told them about human cities, about art and music, about the way humans worked together to solve problems. He showed them pictures on his personal tablet. The Althari listened to everything with great interest. Dr. Ixin was fascinated by human biology. Humans were much stronger than they looked, and they healed faster than most species. They could eat almost anything and survive in conditions that would kill other beings. Most interesting of all, humans seemed to form emotional bonds very quickly, even with strangers. After 2 weeks on the Althari ship, Kiwu was healthy and strong again. He had learned enough of their language to have real conversations. Captain Veltar asked him where he wanted to go. Kiwu gave them the coordinates for Earth. He promised that if they helped him get home, humanity would remember their kindness. The Althari decided to escort him part way, making sure he was safe. Before saying goodbye, none of them knew that Kiwu's rescue would change the galaxy forever. Admiral Nam Hyun-sik was reading reports in his office on Luna Station when the emergency message arrived. The communication officer knocked on his door and entered with a worried expression. "Sir, we have received a distress signal from one of our trading vessels. The message is 3 weeks old and badly damaged, but we have managed to piece most of it together." Nam took the data pad and read the report. Kiwu's ship had been attacked by unknown aliens near the edge of human space. The trader was missing and presumed dead. His cargo was worth almost nothing, just basic supplies for the outer colonies. "This does not make sense," Nam said to himself. "Why would anyone attack such a small ship?" The cargo was worthless. He called for Colonel Lee So-min, the head of intelligence for the Terran Defense Force. So-min arrived within minutes, carrying her own collection of reports and data files. "I have been waiting for you to call," So-min said. "We have been tracking unusual activity in that sector for several weeks. This attack on Kiwu's ship fits a pattern we have been watching." She spread several star charts across Nam's desk. Red marks showed the locations of recent attacks on human ships. The attacks were all in different areas, but they had things in common. All the ships were small and lightly armed. All were carrying ordinary cargo. All the crews were human. "Someone is testing us," So-min explained. "They are attacking our weakest ships to see how we respond. They want to know how fast we can react, how many ships we can send, and how far we are willing to go to protect our people." Nam studied the IEA charts. "What do we know about the attackers?" So-min activated a holographic display showing a dark, spiked ship. "We call them the Vorthak Empire. They are slavers and raiders who have been expanding their territory for the past 50 years. They conquer weak species and force them to work in their mines and factories. And now they are interested in humans?" "It appears so. Are intercepted. Communications suggest they see us as either a threat or an opportunity. Humans have been expanding into space very quickly. We have colonized more systems in the past century than most species manage in 1,000 years. The Vorthak want to know if we are dangerous." Nam walked to the window of his office. Outside, he could see Earth hanging in space like a blue and white jewel. Thousands of ships moved between Earth and Luna every day. The solar system was full of human activity. "What about this traitor, Kiwu? Is there any chance he survived?" So-min checked her notes. "Unknown. His escape pod had a beacon, but it stopped transmitting after 3 days. Either the power failed, or—" She did not finish the sentence. Nam made a decision that would change everything. "Send a message to all fleet commanders. I want every available ship ready for deployment within 48 hours. "Sir, how many ships are we talking about?" "All of them." So-min stared at him. "Admiral, we have over 15,000 military vessels scattered across human space. If we call them all back to Earth, we will leave our colonies defenseless. The colonies will be fine for a few weeks, but if someone is testing humanity's resolve, I want to make sure they get a very clear answer." Nam activated his communication system and began recording a message that would be sent to every human military base in the galaxy. "This is Admiral Nam Hyun-sik, commanding officer of the Terran Defense Force. All ships are ordered to return to Earth immediately for a priority mission. This is not a drill. Repeat, this is not a drill." Within hours, the order was transmitted across hundreds of light years. On Mars, Captain Yoon Da-hae received the message while her carrier was in dock for repairs. The work crews immediately began working around the clock to get her ship ready for space. On the outer colonies, retired Admiral Kang Min-soo was called back to active duty. He had been living quietly on a farm, growing vegetables and writing his memoirs. Now he was asked to command the largest fleet in human history. "Why are we sending so many ships for one missing traitor?" asked Minister Choi Jun-ho when Nam briefed the Earth government. "Surely a few destroyers would be enough for a rescue mission." Nam looked at the politician with cold eyes. "Minister, Kai Wu is not just any traitor. He is a human being who was attacked while doing his job. If we do not respond to this attack, We are telling the galaxy that human lives have no value. But 15,000 ships? The cost will be enormous. The cost of doing nothing will be much higher. If the Vorthak think we are weak, they will attack again. Next time it might not be just one ship. It might be an entire colony. Somin added her support. The Admiral is right. Our intelligence shows that the Vorthak respect only strength. If we send a small force, they will see it as proof that humans are not a serious threat. But if we send everything we have, they will think twice before attacking us again. Nam finished. The preparations began immediately. Ships that had been scheduled for maintenance were rushed back into service. Crews that were on leave were recalled to duty. Supply ships began loading ammunition and supplies for what could be a long journey. The news spread quickly through human space. Every human colony, every space station, every trading post heard about the massive fleet that was assembling near Earth. Some people were excited. Finally, humanity was going to show the galaxy what they were capable of. Others were worried. Was this the start of a war? Kiwu's family was contacted and told about the rescue mission. His sister cried when she learned that her brother might still be alive. His parents were amazed that so many people cared about finding one missing traitor. In the alien territories, the news caused panic. Species that had been thinking about attacking human ships suddenly changed their minds. The peaceful races that had been considering trade with humanity became very interested in making friends. The Vorthak Empire received the intelligence reports about the human fleet buildup. Most of their leaders laughed. How could such a young species have so many warships? The reports had to be exaggerated. Warlord Grixmoth was not laughing. He had been the one to order the attack on Kiwu's ship. It was supposed to be a simple test of human responses. Send a few ships, destroy a trader, see what happens. He had expected maybe a dozen human vessels to come looking for their missing comrade. He had not expected 15,000. Are our spies certain about these numbers? Grixmoth asked his intelligence chief. Yes, Warlord. Human ships are arriving at Earth from all over their territory. We have never seen anything like it. No species has ever mobilized so many vessels for a single individual. Grixmoth thought about this. The humans were either very stupid or very dangerous. If they were stupid, this was a perfect opportunity to destroy their entire fleet in one battle. If they were dangerous, attacking them might be the biggest mistake the Vorthak Empire had ever made. Prepare our own fleet, he ordered. If the humans want a war, we will give them one. Back on Luna Station, Admiral Nam watched the reports of ships arriving near Earth. Every hour brought more vessels. Battleships from the Mars Defense Fleet, carriers from the outer colonies, even small patrol boats from the asteroid mining stations. Colonel Somin joined him at the observation deck. The fleet is almost complete. We should be ready to depart within 2 days. Any word from our scouts about Kai Wu? Nothing yet, but we have detected some unusual activity in the sector where he disappeared. Long-range sensors show ships moving in that area. It could be nothing, or it could be our missing traitor. Nam nodded. Either way, we are going to find out what happened to him, and we are going to make sure that anyone who thinks about attacking humans in the future knows exactly what the consequences will be. Outside the station, the greatest armada in human history continued to grow. Ships filled the space around, Earth like a metal cloud. Each vessel carried hundreds or thousands of crew members, all volunteers who wanted to help rescue one of their own. The galaxy was about to learn what happened when someone hurt a human being. Captain Yoon Da-hee had never seen so many ships in one place. Her carrier, the Indomitable, was just one vessel among thousands that surrounded Earth like a protective shell. Every few hours, more ships arrived from distant colonies and outposts. She stood on the bridge watching a massive battleship dock at one of the orbital stations. The ship was so large that it blocked out the stars behind it. Its hull was covered with weapon turrets and armor plating. This was the Eternal Vigilance, flagship of the Mars Defense Fleet. Captain, incoming message from Fleet Command, her communication officer reported. The holographic display activated, showing Admiral Kang Min-soo. He looked older than in his official photos, with gray hair and lines around his eyes. But his voice was strong and confident. All ship commanders, report to the command briefing in 1 hour. We will discuss the mission parameters and deployment strategy. Day-High had heard stories about Admiral Kang. He was a legend in the Terran Defense Force. During the colony wars 20 years ago, he had saved 3 entire worlds from pirate attacks. After the wars ended, he had retired to live quietly on a farming colony. Now he was back, commanding the largest fleet in human history. Thaimab. Briefing was held on Luna Station in a conference room that had been expanded to hold hundreds of officers. Da-Hai took a seat near the back and looked around at her fellow commanders. She recognized some faces from the military academy, others from joint training exercises. All of them looked serious and determined. Admiral Kang entered the room and everyone stood at attention. He motioned for them to sit and activated the main display screen. Ladies and gentlemen, you all know why we are here. 3 weeks ago, one of our citizens was attacked while conducting peaceful trade. Merchant Kiwoo is missing and presumed captured or killed. We are going to find him. The display showed a star map with their destination marked in red. It was far from Earth, near the edge of explored space. Intelligence reports suggest that Kiwoo was attacked by raiders from the Vorthak Empire. These aliens are slavers who have been expanding their territory by conquering weaker species. They appear to be testing our resolve. Commander Shin Woo-jin, leader of the Marine Special Forces, raised his hand. Admiral, what if the traitor is already dead? Are we really sending 15,000 ships for a rescue mission that might be impossible? Kang looked at the young commander with steady eyes. Commander, let me explain something about human nature. We do not abandon our people. Ever. Whether Kiwoo is alive or dead, we are going to find out what happened to him. And we are going to make sure that everyone in the galaxy understands the consequences of attacking human beings. The room was silent. Da-Hai felt a chill run down her spine. This was not just about one missing traitor. This was about establishing humanity's place in the galaxy. The fleet will be organized into 5 battle groups, Kang continued. Each group will have specific responsibilities. Battle Group Alpha will be our main strike force. Battle Group Beta will provide support and logistics. Battle Groups Gamma and Delta will secure our flanks. Battle Group Echo will remain in reserve. The assignments were displayed on screen. Day-High was pleased to see that the Indomitable was assigned to Battle Group Alpha. Her pilots would be among the first to see action if there was a fight. After the briefing, Day-High returned to her ship and called her squadron commanders together. They gathered in the pilot-ready room 24 of the best fighter pilots in the fleet. People, we are about to make history, she told them. Humanity has never deployed a fleet this large for any reason. The entire galaxy is watching to see what we do next. Lieutenant Park Sang-ho, her youngest pilot, asked the question everyone was thinking. Captain, are we really going to fight the entire Vorthak Empire over one traitor? Da-Hai smiled. Lieutenant, that question shows you still do not understand what it means to be human. We are not fighting over one traitor. We are fighting for the principle that human lives matter. That when someone hurts one of us, they hurt all of us. She activated the tactical display showing their destination. The Vorthak think they can test us by attacking our weakest ships. They think we will calculate the cost and decide that one, life is not worth risking thousands. They are about to learn that they completely misunderstand human nature. Across the fleet, similar conversations were taking place. On the battleship Righteous Fury, Admiral Ko Yun-seo was briefing her gunnery, officers on Vorthak ship designs. The aliens used energy weapons that were powerful but slow to recharge. Human weapons were faster and more accurate. On the destroyer Swift Justice, Captain Lim Tae-min was reviewing boarding procedures with his Marines. If they found Ki-woo being held prisoner, they would need to rescue him quickly before the slavers could harm him. The preparation continued for 2 more days. Supply ships loaded ammunition, food, and medical supplies. Engineering teams made final repairs and upgrades. Intelligence officers analyzed every piece of data they could find about Vorthak tactics and technology. On the 3rd day, Admiral Kang gave the order that would change galactic history. All ships, prepare for departure. We leave for the outer. Systems in 1 hour. The fleet began to move. 15,000 ships, from massive dreadnoughts to small patrol craft, formed into their assigned formations. The sight was incredible. Even from space, the human fleet was visible as a glowing cloud of metal and energy. News of the departure spread instantly across human space. Every colony, every space station, every trading post received updates about the fleet's progress. People gathered around communication screens to watch live feeds from news ships following the armada. Children drew pictures of the great fleet coming to rescue the lost trader. Poets wrote songs about humanity's loyalty to its own. Historians compared the event to the great migrations of ancient Earth. But the fleet was not the only thing moving through space. Deep in Vorthak territory, Warlord Grixmoth was assembling his own armada. If the humans wanted a fight, he would give them one they would never forget. "How many ships do we have ready for battle?" Grixmoth asked his fleet commander. 8,000 vessels, Warlord, our heaviest ships and most experienced crews. Grixmoth studied the tactical displays. The human fleet was larger, but the Vorthak had been fighting space battles for centuries. Their ships were designed for war, not exploration or trade. Their weapons were tested in countless raids against helpless worlds. "The humans are fools," he said to his advisors. "They are risking their entire fleet for one insignificant trader. When we destroy them, the galaxy will know that the Vorthak Empire is the strongest force in space." His intelligence chief was not so confident. "Warlord, our spies report that human military technology is more advanced than we expected. Their ships are faster, and their weapons are more accurate than ours." "Numbers mean nothing," Grixmoth replied. "We have experience. We have been warriors for 1,000 years, while the humans were still living in mud huts. One experienced Vorthak fighter is worth 10 human rookies." Unknown to Grixmoth, his communications were being intercepted by human intelligence. Colonel Lee So-min was reading transcripts of Vorthak military messages in her office on Luna Station. "Admiral Nam, you need to see this," she said, forwarding the intercepts to Fleet Command. Nam read the messages and smiled grimly. "So they are planning to ambush our rescue fleet. How thoughtful of them to let us know." He sent an encrypted message to Admiral Kang. "Enemy fleet mobilizing. 8,000 ships. Recommend maximum caution." Kang's reply was immediate. Understood. We are ready for whatever comes. The human fleet continued its journey toward the outer systems. In the ships, crew members wrote letters to their families and checked their equipment one more time. Everyone understood that they might be flying into the largest space battle in galactic history, but they also understood why they were going. Kiwu was out there somewhere, either as a prisoner or a memory. Either way, humanity was coming for him. The galaxy had never seen anything like it. An entire species mobilizing to save one individual. Other races watched in amazement and fear. What kind of beings were these humans? What did their response say about their nature? Soon everyone would find out. Captain Veltar watched Kai Wu through the observation window of his ship's recreation area. The human was teaching 3 young Althari crew members how to play a game called chess. The alien children were fascinated by the strategy involved, though they kept trying to move multiple pieces at once. "Your people have interesting minds," Dr. Ixon said, joining Veltar at the window. Kiwu thinks several moves ahead, but he also considers what his opponent might do. Most species focus on their own plans. Humans seem to understand that success depends on predicting others. Veltar nodded. In the 3 weeks since they had rescued Kiwu, the human had become like family to his crew. He shared stories about Earth, taught them human games, and even helped with ship maintenance. The Althari had never met anyone so willing to work alongside strangers. Navigation Officer Krindal reports that we are 2 days from the coordinates where we will meet the human rescue ships, Veltar said. I admit I am curious to see what they send for one trader. Ixon checked his medical scanner. Kiwu's health is perfect now. His species recovers from trauma much faster than most. But I sense he is worried about something. Through the window, they could see Kiwu pause in his chess lesson. He was looking at something on his personal communication device. His expression was troubled. Veltar entered the recreation area. "Kiwu, is everything well?" The human looked up with a strange expression. "Captain, I have been receiving messages from my people. They are coming to get me." "That is good news, is it not?" Kiwu showed him the communication device. The screen displayed numbers and ship classifications that meant nothing to Veltar. "They are sending more ships than I expected. Much more." "How? Many ships?" Kiwu was quiet for a long moment. "All of them." Before Veltar could ask what that meant, alarms began sounding throughout the ship. Navigation Officer Krindal's voice came over the communication system. "Captain, to the bridge immediately. We have contacts on long-range sensors. Many contacts." Veltar and Kiwu rushed to the bridge. The main display screen showed what looked like a star field, but something was wrong. The stars were moving. "What am I looking at?" Veltar asked. Krindal's voice was shaking. "Captain, those are not stars. Those are ships. Thousands of ships. They are approaching our position at high speed." Dr. Ixon joined them on the bridge. His medical training included tactical analysis, and his face went pale as he studied the sensor readings. "Captain, if these readings are correct, there are over 15,000 vessels in that formation. This is the largest fleet ever assembled in recorded galactic history." Veltar felt his heart skip a beat. The Althari Confederation had maybe 100 ships total scattered across their entire territory. Their largest fleet action had involved 12 vessels. What they were seeing was beyond their understanding. "Are they hostile?" he asked. Kiwu was studying the readings on his device. "No. These are human military vessels. They are here for me." The bridge fell silent. Every Althari crew member stared at the human in amazement. All of those ships, Grindal whispered, "are coming for one person?" Kiwu nodded, but he looked more worried than happy. "I think my government may have overreacted slightly." The human fleet continued to approach. As it got closer, individual ships became visible on the sensors. Veltar had never seen anything like them. The human vessels were sleek and powerful, bristling with weapons and armor. Each ship was a work of art and an instrument of war. "Captain," the communication officer called out, "we are receiving a transmission on multiple frequencies. It is in the human language." "Put it through the translator," Veltar ordered. A voice filled the bridge, speaking with calm authority. "Unknown vessel. This is Admiral Kang Min-Soo of the Terran Defense Force. Please identify yourself and state your intentions." Kiwu stepped forward. "Admiral, this is Park Kiwu. I am aboard the Althari vessel Gentle Current. These people rescued me and have been taking care of me." There was a pause. Then the Admiral's voice returned, warmer now. "Kiwu, it is good to hear your voice. Are you injured? Are you being held against your will?" "No, sir. The Althari found me floating in an escape pod and saved my life. They have been nothing but kind to me." Another pause. "Althari vessel Gentle Current, this is Admiral Kang. We thank you for your assistance to our citizen. Please maintain your current course and speed. We will escort you to the rendezvous point." Veltar found his voice. "Admiral, this is Captain Veltar of the Gentle Current. We are honored to meet representatives of humanity. But may I ask why you sent so many ships?" The answer came immediately. "Captain, when someone shows kindness to one of our people, all of humanity takes notice. We wanted to make sure Kiwu returned home safely." Dr. Ixon leaned over to Veltar and whispered, "They sent 15,000 warships to make sure one traitor got home safely?" On the main screen, the human fleet was now clearly visible. The ships formed a protective formation around the tiny Althari vessel. The largest human ship was so big that the Gentle Current could have fit inside its main hangar bay. Kiwu was talking quietly with Admiral Kang, explaining what had happened during his capture and rescue. Veltar listened with growing amazement, as the human described how the Althari had risked their own safety to save a complete stranger. "Captain Veltar," Admiral Kang's voice addressed him directly, "according to Kiwu, you and your crew went far beyond the call of duty to help him. Humanity does not forget such kindness." "We only did what anyone would do," Veltar replied. "Captain, you are wrong. Most species would have left Kiwu floating in space rather than risk their own resources to help a stranger. What you did was extraordinary." Young Grindal could not contain his curiosity. "Admiral, forgive my question, but why did your people send such a large fleet? Kiwu is safe now." There was a long pause before Admiral Kang answered. "Officer, let me explain something about human nature. We believe that when someone shows kindness to one of us, they show kindness to all of us. When someone threatens one of us, they threaten all of us. Your captain and crew risked their lives to save Kiwu. That makes you family." The word family was translated into Althari, but the concept was clear. These humans considered the crew of the Gentle Current to be their relatives now. "There is another reason for the size of our fleet," Admiral Kang continued. "The beings who attacked Kiwu are still out there. They need to understand that attacking humans has consequences." As if summoned by his words, new contacts appeared. On the sensors, these ships were different from the human vessels. They were dark and angular, covered with spikes and weapon mounts. Even at a distance, they looked dangerous and cruel. "Captain," Krindal reported, 8,000 ships approaching from the opposite direction. Configuration matches no known peaceful species. Kiwu looked at the display and his face went hard. "Those look like the ships that attacked me." Admiral Kang's voice came through the communication system, calm but carrying an edge of steel. "All ships, this is Admiral Kang. We have hostile contacts approaching. Prepare for battle stations. Althari vessel, please move to the center of our formation. We will protect you." Veltar felt his ship shake slightly as the human fleet adjusted its position. Hundreds of massive warships moved to surround the gentle current like a protective shell. "Admiral," Veltar said, "you do not need to fight for us. We can try to escape." "Captain, with respect, you are under our protection now. No one threatens our family." The human fleet began to change formation. The graceful escort formation became something else entirely. The ships spread out into attack patterns, weapons powering up, fighters launching from carrier decks. Kiwu watched the preparations with a mixture of pride and concern. "Captain Veltar, you should know that humans are very good at fighting, but they are even better at protecting the people they care about." Dr. Ixon was monitoring the communication channels between human ships. The coordination was perfect. Thousands of vessels moving as one, each knowing exactly what to do without confusion or delay. How do they manage such complex operations? He wondered aloud. "Practice," Kiwu said simply. "And the knowledge that we are fighting for each other." The approaching enemy fleet was still hours away, but the tension on the bridge was obvious. The Althari had never been in a space battle. Their ships were designed for exploration and rescue, not warfare, but the humans around them radiated confidence. These were not merchants or explorers pretending to be warriors. These were professional soldiers who had been training for this moment their entire careers. "Do not worry," Kiwu told the Althari crew. "My people have come a long way to make sure I get home safely. They are not going to let anything happen to us now." Veltar believed him. But as he watched the enemy fleet approaching, he wondered if even 15,000 human ships would be enough. The human flagship Earth's Promise was the largest ship Captain Veltar had ever seen. As his small vessel Gentle Current approached the massive dreadnought, he felt like an insect flying toward a mountain. The human ship's main hangar bay was bigger than most Althari space stations. "Gentle Current, this is Earth's Promise Flight Control," came a voice through their communication system. "Please follow the guide lights to Docking Bay 7. Welcome aboard." Veltar had never docked inside another ship before. The Althari vessels were too small to carry other ships, but the humans made it look routine. Automated systems guided the Gentle Current through the hangar entrance and into a specially prepared docking area. Through the viewports, Veltar could see hundreds of human crew members working in the hangar bay. They wore different colored uniforms that seemed to indicate their jobs. Everyone moved with purpose and efficiency. "Captain," Dr. Ixon said nervously, "we are about to meet the leaders of a species that just deployed 15,000 warships. Are we prepared for this?" Before Veltar could answer, Kiwu joined them on the bridge. The human had changed into a clean uniform and looked more formal than they had seen him before. "Do not worry," Kiwu told them. "Admiral Kang is a good man. He will treat you with respect and honor." The docking process completed with barely a vibration. Through the communication system, they heard the sound of atmosphere being pumped into the space around their ship. The humans were making sure the Althari could breathe safely. "Gentle Current, you are cleared for disembarkation. Admiral Kang is waiting to meet you in the main conference room." Veltar selected a small group to accompany him. Dr. Ixon, navigation. Officer Crindall and two other senior crew members. They had never participated in first contact with a new species before. Everything they did now would become part of galactic history. The airlock opened to reveal a group of humans in military uniforms. The leader was a tall man with gray hair and kind eyes. Despite his age, he stood straight and radiated authority. "Captain Veltar," the human said, stepping forward, "I am Admiral Kang Min-Su. On behalf of humanity, I thank you for saving the life of our citizen." Veltar performed the traditional Althari greeting, placing his hands together and bowing slightly. Admiral Kang copied the gesture perfectly, which surprised the Althari captain. "Admiral, we only did what anyone would do for a person in distress." "Captain, you are wrong. What you did was extraordinary. Many species would have ignored a distress call from an unknown being. You risked your own safety and resources to help a stranger. That makes you heroes in our eyes." The humans led them through corridors that seemed to stretch forever. The ship was like a floating city, with thousands of crew members and enough supplies to operate independently for years. But what impressed Veltar most was how clean and organized everything was. The conference room was large enough to hold 100 people, but only a dozen humans were present. They stood when the Althari entered, showing respect for their guests. "Admiral," Kang gestured to chairs that had been specially modified for Althari physiology. "Please be comfortable. We have much to discuss." As they sat down, servers brought food and drinks. The humans had somehow learned Althari dietary requirements and prepared appropriate refreshments. Dr. Ixon tested everything with a small scanner and nodded approval. "First," Admiral Kang said, "let me introduce my staff." He went around the table, introducing each human by name and position. Veltar tried to remember them all, but there were so many titles and responsibilities. "Now," the Admiral continued, "Kiwu has told us about his rescue and recovery. We understand that you found him in an escape pod with failing life support." "That is correct," Veltar replied. "He was unconscious and badly dehydrated. Our medical officer worked for hours to stabilize his condition." Dr. Ixon added, "Human physiology is remarkable. Kiwu recovered much faster than most species would have. Your people are very resilient." One of the human officers, introduced as Colonel Lee So-min, leaned forward. "Captain, did Kaiwu tell you about the attack on his ship?" "Yes. He said 3 alien vessels destroyed his trading ship and took his cargo. The attackers had dark ships with many weapons." "Those were Vorthak raiders," Colonel Lee explained. "They are slavers who attack weak targets. We believe they chose Kiwu's ship specifically because it was human." Young Crindall could not hide his shock. "They attacked him because he was human? But why?" Admiral Kang's expression grew serious. "The Vorthak have been testing us. They want to know how humans respond to attacks on our people. They thought we would send a few ships to investigate, maybe file a diplomatic protest. Instead, you sent 15,000 ships," Veltar observed. "We wanted to make our position very clear," the Admiral replied. "Anyone who harms a human being will face the full response of humanity." The meeting continued for 2 hours. The humans asked detailed questions about Althari society, technology, and territory. They seemed genuinely interested in learning about their new friends. In return, they shared information about Earth and human colonies. Veltar learned that humans had spread across hundreds of star systems in just a few centuries. Their expansion rate was unprecedented in galactic history. Most species took thousands of years to colonize even a dozen worlds. "How do you coordinate so many colonies across such vast distances?" Dr. Ixin asked. Captain Yoon Da-hee, commander of the carrier Indomitable, answered. Communication and transportation networks. Every human world is connected to every other world through quantum communication links and regular shipping routes. We think of ourselves as one people, no matter how far apart we live. That explains how you assembled this fleet so quickly, Veltar realized. When Kiwu was attacked, every human world heard about it immediately. Exactly. An attack on one human is an attack on all humans. As the formal meeting ended, Admiral Kang made an announcement that surprised everyone. Captain Veltar, humanity would like to offer a formal treaty of friendship with the Althari Confederation. We believe our peoples have much to offer each other. Veltar was overwhelmed. His small patrol ship had rescued one human, and now he was being offered an alliance with the most powerful military force in the galaxy. Admiral, I am honored, but I do not have authority to negotiate treaties. That would require approval from the Althari Council. Of course, we will send diplomatic representatives to your government, but I want you to know that this offer comes from genuine gratitude and respect. Before the Althari could return to their ship, the humans had prepared a ceremony. Kiwu stood before his rescuers and formally thanked each one by name. He presented them with gifts from Earth, artwork, music recordings, and books translated into Althari language. These gifts represent the best of human culture, Kiwu explained. We want you to understand who we are and what we value. Dr. Ixin received a collection of human medical texts. Your healing techniques could help many people, Kaiwu told him. Navigation Officer Krindal received star charts showing safe routes through human space. You will always be welcome in our territory, Kaiwu said. Captain Veltar received something unexpected, a small metal badge with human writing on it. This is an honorary commission in the Terran Defense Force, Admiral Kang explained. It makes you an official friend of humanity. If you are ever in danger, any human ship will come to your aid. Veltar was moved to tears. In Althari culture, being adopted into another family was the highest honor possible. The ceremony concluded with Admiral Kang asking a question that had been on his mind since the rescue began. Captain, I must ask, why did you save Kiwu? Your ship was small, your resources limited. You could have simply reported the distress signal to authorities and continued your patrol. Veltar thought carefully before answering. Admiral, in Althari philosophy, all conscious beings are connected. When one suffers, all suffer. When one is helped, all are helped. We could not ignore someone in need. Admiral Kang smiled. Captain, I think our species are going to be very good friends. As the Althari prepared to return to their ship, they were escorted through different sections of the human flagship. They saw the medical bay, where human doctors were treating injured crew members with advanced technology. They visited the engineering section, where the ship's power systems generated more energy than most planets used. But what impressed them most was the crew. Everywhere they went, humans stopped what they were doing to greet the Althari visitors. Many had heard about the rescue and wanted to personally thank them. Your people are remarkable, Dr. Ixin told Kiwu as they walked back to the hangar bay. I have never seen a species so united in purpose. Kiwu nodded. We learned long ago that we are stronger together than apart. When one of us is threatened, all of us respond. As the gentle current prepared to depart, Admiral Kang made one final announcement over the communication system. Captain Veltar, You and your crew will always be remembered as the people who showed humanity that kindness still exists in the galaxy. We will not forget." The small Althari ship undocked from the massive human flagship and began its journey home. Behind them, 15,000 human warships maintained their formation, ready to face whatever came next. But ahead of them, 8,000 Vorthak vessels were approaching for battle. Warlord Grixmoth stood on the bridge of his flagship Death's Edge and studied the tactical display with growing excitement. His intelligence officers had confirmed the reports. 15,000 human ships were approaching his territory. The entire human military was coming to him. "This is perfect," he told his fleet commanders through the communication system. "The humans have made the greatest tactical error in galactic history. Instead of sending a small rescue force that we could easily destroy, they have brought their entire fleet into our territory." His second-in-command, General Vexagtar, was not as confident. "Warlord, our spies report that human ships are more advanced than we expected. Their weapons are faster and more accurate than ours." Grixmoth laughed, a harsh sound that echoed through the bridge. "Vextar, you worry too much. Advanced technology means nothing without experience. We have been fighting space battles for 1,000 years. These humans have been in space for less than 2 centuries. They are children playing with toys. The Vorthak Empire had built its power through conquest and intimidation. For centuries, they had attacked weaker species and forced them into slavery. Their military doctrine was simple: strike fast, strike hard, and never show mercy. "How many ships do we have assembled?" Grixmoth asked. 8,000 vessels, Warlord. Our best ships and most experienced crews. Each one has seen dozens of battles. Grixmoth nodded with satisfaction. His fleet was smaller than the human force, but size was not everything. The Vorthak ships were designed for war. Every weapon system had been tested in real combat. Every crew member was a veteran warrior. What do we know about human battle tactics? Intelligence Chief Colden stepped forward with his report. "Very little, Warlord. Humans have fought only minor conflicts with pirates and raiders. They have never faced a major military power like ours." "Excellent. They will be unprepared for true warfare." But Colden had more to say. "Warlord, there is something unusual about the human response. No species has ever deployed their entire military to rescue one individual. This suggests that humans value individual lives much more than most species." "That is a weakness we can exploit," Grixmoth replied. "If they care so much about one trader, imagine how they will react when we start destroying their ships. They will panic and make mistakes." General Vextar was studying the reports from their forward scouts. "Warlord, the human fleet formation is unlike anything we have seen before. They are not arranging their ships for maximum firepower or optimal defense. They are protecting something in the center of their formation." "The rescued trader?" "Unknown. But they are treating something as more important than tactical advantage." Grixmoth saw opportunity in this information. "Then we know where to strike. If we can reach whatever they are protecting in the center, the humans will do anything to defend it. We can use their emotions against them." The Vorthak fleet continued toward the intercept point. Behind them, news of the approaching battle spread throughout the Empire. Other warlords were watching carefully. If Grixmoth could defeat the humans, he would become the most powerful leader in Vorthak space. But some of the older commanders were worried. They had heard strange stories about human behavior. Reports said that humans became more dangerous when their people were threatened, not less. On the bridge of Death's Edge, Grixmoth was planning his attack strategy. We will divide our fleet into 3 groups. The first group will attack their left flank to draw their attention. The second group will strike from the right. When they move to defend both flanks, our main force will punch through the center and destroy whatever they are protecting. It was a classic Vorthak tactic that had worked against dozens of species: force the enemy to divide their attention, then strike where they are weakest. "Warlord," Colden interrupted, "we are receiving new intelligence reports from our deep space monitors." "What do they say?" "The human fleet is not just moving toward us. They are actively hunting us. Their scout ships are trying to locate our exact position." This surprised Grix Moth. Most species tried to avoid battle when facing a superior force. The humans were doing the opposite. They were seeking combat. "Let them find us," he decided. "The sooner we fight, the sooner we can crush them." Unknown to Grix Moth, his communications were being intercepted by human intelligence. Colonel Lee, Somin, was reading translations of Vorthak battle plans in her command center aboard the flagship Earth's Promise. "Admiral Kang," she reported, "the enemy is planning a 3-pronged attack. They want to draw our forces away from the center, then strike at whatever we are protecting." Admiral Kang studied the intelligence reports. "They think we are protecting Ki-Wu?" "That appears to be their assumption. They do not understand that we are protecting Captain Veltar and his crew as well." Kang smiled grimly. "Their intelligence is incomplete. They see our formation and assume we are being emotional rather than tactical. Let them think that." The truth was more complex. The human fleet was indeed protecting the Althari ship, but their formation served multiple purposes. It allowed them to concentrate firepower quickly in any direction while keeping their most valuable ships safe from surprise attack. "Do we have a complete analysis of Vorthak capabilities?" Kang asked. Colonel Lee activated a holographic display showing Vorthak ship designs. "Their vessels are heavily armed but slow to maneuver. They rely on brute force rather than tactical. Flexibility. Their weapons are powerful but have long recharge times. Weaknesses. Their ships are designed for attacking stationary targets or weaker opponents. They have never faced an enemy with superior technology and coordination." Captain Yunda Hai joined the discussion from her carrier Indomitable. "Admiral, my fighter pilots have been analyzing Vorthak ship configurations. Their point defense systems are designed to stop missiles and torpedoes, not fast-moving fighters." "Excellent. What about their command structure?" "Highly centralized. Everything depends on orders from the flagship. If we can disrupt their communications, their coordination will collapse." Admiral Kang began forming his battle plan. Unlike the Vorthak strategy of overwhelming force, the human approach would rely on speed, coordination, and technological superiority. "All battle group commanders, report to the command center. We have work to do." As the human officers gathered to plan their strategy, Grixmoth was making his final preparations. He had positioned his fleet in what he believed was the perfect ambush formation. When the humans arrived, they would find themselves surrounded and outgunned. "All ships, maintain communication silence," he ordered. "We will strike without warning and give them no chance to coordinate a defense." But the warlord had made a fundamental error. He assumed that humans would react to surprise the same way other species did, with confusion and panic. He did not understand that humans had been preparing for this battle since the moment Kai-Wu was rescued. General Vextar made one final attempt to warn his commander. "Warlord, something about this situation feels wrong. Why would the humans bring their entire fleet to our territory unless they were confident of victory?" Grixmoth dismissed his concerns. They brought so many ships because they are afraid. When we start destroying them, that fear will turn to panic. But what if they are not afraid? What if they came here intending to fight? Impossible. No species seeks battle against superior numbers unless they have no choice. Vextar fell silent, but his doubts remained. In his long career, he had learned to trust his instincts. Right now, his instincts were telling him that the Vorthak Empire was about to make a terrible mistake. On the human flagship, Admiral Kang received the final scout reports. "Admiral, we have located the enemy fleet. They are positioned in a classic ambush formation about 6 hours ahead of our current position." Kang studied the tactical display. The Vorthak formation was exactly what human military doctrine predicted. Textbook tactics from a species that relied on overwhelming force rather than strategic thinking. "They are planning to surround us when we arrive," he observed. "Yes, sir. Should we alter course to avoid the ambush?" Admiral Kang looked around the command center at his officers. These were the best military minds humanity had produced. They had trained their entire careers for a moment like this. "Absolutely not," he said firmly. "We came here to send a message to the galaxy about what happens when someone attacks a human being. An ambush is the perfect opportunity to deliver that message." He activated the fleet communication system. "All ships, this is Admiral Kang. The enemy has prepared an ambush for us. We are going to spring their trap and show them why it was a mistake to threaten one of our people." The largest space battle in galactic history was about to begin. 6 months after the Battle of the Nexus Sector, Kaiwu stood in his new office on Earth and looked out at the busiest spaceport in human space. Ships from dozens of different species arrived and departed every hour, carrying passengers and cargo, between worlds that had never traded before. His small trading company had grown into something he never expected. Instead of carrying basic supplies between human colonies, he now managed diplomatic and commercial relationships with alien species across the galaxy. The sign on his office door read, "Galactic Friendship Trading Company," in 12 different languages. A soft chime announced his next appointment. Captain Veltar entered the office, wearing the blue and gold uniform of an official Earth ambassador. The Althari captain had accepted the position 6 months ago, becoming the first alien diplomat in human history. "Ki Wu, my friend," Veltar said in much improved English. "I have the final trade agreements from the Althari Council. They are very pleased with the medical technology exchange program." Kiwu smiled as he reviewed the documents. Human medical advances were helping Althari patients across their territory, while Althari healing techniques were being studied in human hospitals. It was exactly the kind of cooperation both species had hoped for. "Any news from the outer territories?" Kiwu asked. "Remarkable changes everywhere," Veltar replied. 17 former Vorthak slave worlds have declared independence. The Zalani Republic has asked for human protection while they rebuild their civilization. The Council of Peaceful Worlds has voted to establish formal relations with Earth. The transformation of the galaxy had been swift and dramatic. The destruction of the Vorthak Empire had created a power vacuum, but instead of chaos, new alliances were forming. Species that had been enemies for centuries were now working together, inspired by humanity's example. Dr. Ixon, now serving as the chief medical advisor for human-alien relations, joined them in the office. His research on human physiology had led to breakthrough treatments for diseases that affected multiple species. "The latest medical reports are very encouraging," he announced. "Human immune systems are helping us develop vaccines for 3 different plagues that have been affecting the Rim worlds." Kiwu was proud of these achievements, but he sometimes felt overwhelmed by how much his rescue had changed. A simple, trading mission had led to first contact with the Althari, a massive space battle, and the emergence of humanity as a major galactic power. On Luna Station, Admiral Nam Hyun Sik was meeting with representatives from 43 different species. His office had been expanded 3 times to accommodate all the diplomats who wanted to establish relations with humanity. The Krillian Empire wishes to discuss a mutual defense pact, his aide reported. The Ethereal Collective wants to share their energy research. The hive minds of Sector 7 are offering to help with our terraforming projects. Nam reviewed each proposal carefully. Humanity's new position in the galaxy brought opportunities, but also responsibilities. Everyone wanted to be friends with the species that had destroyed the Vorthak Empire in 3 hours. "What about the former Vorthak territories?" he asked. "Admiral Kang's peacekeeping fleet is maintaining order in the core systems. Most of the former slave species are establishing democratic governments. A few are asking to join the human colonial administration." This was unexpected, but not unwelcome. Several species had concluded that human leadership would be more fair and protective than trying to govern themselves immediately after centuries of slavery. On the prison colony of Titan, former warlord Grixmoth was serving a life sentence for crimes against galactic peace. His capture had become legendary throughout human space, and Commander Shin Woo-jin had been promoted to general for his role in the operation. But Grixmoth was not the only former Vorthak leader adapting to the new reality. Many lower-ranking officers had accepted amnesty in exchange for helping to free slaves and rebuild damaged worlds. General Vextar, former second-in-command of the Death's Edge, now worked with human officials to locate hidden slave camps and rescue their prisoners. His knowledge of Vorthak operations had already led to the freedom of over 1 million beings. "I was wrong about humans," he admitted during one of his regular reports to Admiral Kang. "I thought your emotional responses were weakness. I did not understand that they were strength." The former Vorthak general had become a case study in human rehabilitation programs. Instead of executing enemy leaders, humans offered them chances to make amends for their crimes. The results had impressed observers throughout the galaxy. Captain Yoon Da-hee, now promoted to admiral, commanded the new Galactic Peace Fleet. Her ships patrolled former Vorthak territory, protecting the weak and ensuring that no new empire could rise to threaten innocent species. Her fighter pilots had become heroes throughout human space. Songs were written about their precision flying during the Battle of the Nexus sector. Children played games pretending to be fighter pilots protecting traders from alien raiders. But Da-hee knew that the real victory was not military. It was the peace that followed the battle. For the first time in centuries, weaker species could travel safely through space without fear of being enslaved or destroyed. On the Althari homeworld, Captain Veltar's rescue of Ki Woo had become a cultural legend. Althari children learned about the small patrol ship that saved a human trader and changed galactic history. Schools throughout Althari space taught lessons about the importance of helping strangers. Art galleries displayed paintings of the moment, when 15,000 human ships appeared to escort one small alien vessel home. "You gave us more than friendship," Veltar told Ki Woo during one of their regular meetings. "You gave us proof that kindness has power in the universe." The Althari Confederation had become humanity's closest allies. Their joint exploration missions were mapping new regions of the galaxy and making contact with previously unknown species. Young Navigation Officer Krindal, now a captain commanding his own ship, led many of these missions. His experience aboard the gentle current during the rescue had taught him the value of courage and compassion. Back on Earth, Monument Park had been expanded to include a memorial for the Battle of the Nexus sector. The central statue showed Kiwu shaking hands with Captain Veltar, surrounded by representations of all the species that had been freed from Vorthak slavery. The inscription at the base read, "They rescued one human, so Earth sent an entire war fleet." Let all beings remember that kindness is never forgotten. Every day, thousands of people visited the memorial. Humans brought their children to learn about the importance of gratitude and loyalty. Alien tourists came to understand the values that drove human society. Admiral Kong Min-Su had retired again after the battle, returning to his farm on the outer colonies. But this time, his retirement was different. Representatives from dozens of species visited him regularly, seeking his advice on military strategy and diplomacy. He had written a book about the Nexus Sector campaign that became required reading in military academies across the galaxy. The title was simple: Why We Fight. It explained how human values of loyalty and protection had shaped their military doctrine. "We did not fight the Vorthak because we wanted to conquer territory," he wrote. "We fought because someone had threatened our family. Everything we did followed from that simple truth." The book's most famous passage described the moment when the human fleet first saw the tiny Althari ship. "In that instant, we understood that the universe had tested us. Would we be the kind of species that abandoned those who had shown us kindness?" The answer came from 15,000 ships speaking with one voice: never. Trade routes that had been controlled by the Vorthak Empire were now open to all peaceful species. Former slave worlds that had produced goods only for their masters now traded freely with anyone who offered fair prices. The galactic economy boomed as new partnerships formed between species that had never worked together before. Human technology combined with alien knowledge to create innovations that benefited everyone. Kiwu's trading company had become a symbol of this new cooperation. His employees included humans, Althari, former Vorthak subjects, and representatives from dozens of other species. They worked together to ensure that trade relationships were fair and beneficial for all parties. "We learned something important. From Kaiwu's rescue," he often told new employees, "when you help one person, you might be helping an entire civilization. When you show kindness to a stranger, you might be making a friend for your whole species." The company's success had made Kiwu wealthy, but he used his profits to fund scholarships for young people from former slave worlds. These students came to Earth to learn about human science, technology, and values, then returned home to help rebuild their societies. One of his scholarship recipients was a young Vorthak named Corden, whose parents had been slaves in the Empire's mines. The boy had never expected to see freedom, much less attend university on the human homeworld. "Why do you help me?" Corden asked Kiwu during one of their meetings. "My people attacked you." Kiwu smiled. "Your people did not attack me. A few bad leaders made terrible decisions. You are not responsible for what they did, but you can be responsible for building something better.